saw a lot of you probably last Thursday night at the band concert at Lakeside Middle. I'm Jim Taw. I'm one of the two band directors here. This is Mr. Jared Best, and he's our second director. And the two of us, this is where the band room where we make everything happen, especially musically. So as well as outside there and over there on that field and all over the place. I wish we had a bigger room. I know this may seem big to you, but when we get everybody together, it's a big challenge. We have a program of about 250 kids in the high school band program, so it's a really sizable program. It's the biggest program in our county, probably one of the biggest programs in the whole CSRA area. I know North Augusta is probably pretty close to us, but they do a great job over there too. So we're excited about our program. In our opinion, this is the best, one of the best things that happens at Lakeside High School. It's the largest thing that happens at Lakeside High School. We were really fortunate. We were awarded a special award several years, 2 years ago. It's called the Exemplary Band Award, and it's given out by the Georgia Music Educators Association to one band every year in the state of Georgia. And you have to meet a bunch of criteria. There are criteria you have to follow. You have to have kids that make all-state band, kids that make your district honor band, kids that do solo ensemble. You have to do your large group performance evaluations. And we met all that criteria, and we turned our application in, and we were chosen as the top high school in the state of Georgia for that. So we're really excited about that. And we want you to know that your kids are coming into a program that really believes in nurturing your students, not only musically, but we just consider our program a big family, and we just really enjoy the time we spend together. This is one of my former students, Reed. He's now at Augusta University, plays trumpet and taking trumpet there as well. We have kids all over the state of Georgia and South Carolina, different places, doing band stuff, still playing their instruments. That's not to say that if you get in the band, that's the only thing you can do. We also have kids that leave here and they still play their instrument, but they're studying to be, going into the medical profession, whether it be nursing or doctor. Engineering is a big thing in this area. So we have a lot of kids that do a lot of things, but one of the things that we love, both Mr. Best and I love, is we love being able to work with kids and watching them go from this level to this level. And we're gonna give them every opportunity they can to be successful. We just ask you for parents to be supportive, get involved, and Mr. Best he's got a little presentation he's taken a lot of time to put together. I'm gonna turn it over to him just a little bit, but I just want you to know that if you ever have questions, you just pick up the phone or go on the email either one of us, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can, because we really want your kids to be part of what we feel is like a really strong program here at our school that's gonna really help your child develop character. And I know many times parents say, I don't know, they're going into high school, it's gonna be much tougher than the middle school, academically, it's gonna be all that. I can tell you that the band has some of the top students in the entire school. I mean, we'd have to go through all the paperwork and stuff, but every year when they list the top students, top 10% of our school, we have quite a few kids in that top 10%. So we have built-in tutors here. If your kid needs extra help, we can say, hey, go see that guy over there, and he's gonna be able to help you through your trigonometry or whatever it is they're working on. So it's a huge family. We work together really well. Yes, there's some time commitment in there, but to me, that's one of the great things about band, is we're developing character in your child as they grow up and they get into the high school years, that character that they can use as they carry on in their life into the college level, into the workforce, whatever they do. So with no further ado, I'm gonna turn this over to Mr. Best is gonna give you a little presentation. Try to get somewhere where you can see this as best you can. If you wanna slide closer, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm gonna go back in the back corner so I'm out of the way. Mr. Best.
For most of the presentation, I'm going to be kind of taking you on a tour of the band website, because we're going to be pushing that a lot starting now and into the foreseeable future as a better hub and resource for everything that's going on in the program, for parents, for other people in the school, administrators, whatever, to learn about the structure and all the different classes and stuff that go on during the day. So, important thing number one, our website is lakeside-bands.org. You just type that in and it'll take you to our county provided Google site. So here's our homepage. There's some links to all the social media. The QR code that takes you to the subscription for the band newsletter, that form is also right here. And then we have a feed from our band Twitter, which usually is just another another way that we get the newsletter out. Calendar. That's link number 2 at the top, because we encourage our students and families to live off of the calendar. We try to keep it as up to date as possible. It's been a weird year as far as that goes, but as you can see, we've got all of our July band camp dates in there. We have our football games in for this coming fall, and we have our marching band competition dates. There are 2 dates. There's one in late September and one in mid-late October that we're still trying to figure out which one of those is going to work out. But other than that, everything else is pretty much good to go there. We live by the calendar. This is just a little sort of philosophy of what we do page. I would encourage you to read that on your own time. It's a lot of what me and Mr. Tall just talked about. It's what we believe about what we do, both musically, but more importantly, personally. So I'd encourage you to check that out. It's just got a little bit of our heart about this program. We got the About tab. If you go down to mission statement, this is one thing we talk about a lot with the kids. Excellent people, excellent process, excellent product. And that's a very intentional order of events because priority number 1 is the type of people that we're shaping our young people to be. As a result, we believe that like an excellent person is going to do things well. Excellent process referring to your homework or practicing for band stuff or the way we rehearse when we're all together, or you'll like this one, do your chores well and don't procrastinate. And then those sorts of things inevitably yield an excellent product. We don't focus on the excellent product. Excellent people engaged in an excellent process inevitably yield an excellent product. So that's sort of our mantra. You can go here if you want to read a little more about me and Mr. Tall, our middle school directors, and then the staff that we have that help out with the marching band. And also in a normal non-COVID year, some of those faces are people that are just involved in the general going-ons of the band program. It kind of shifts year to year, but we've got some people that come in and work with the brass, work with the woodwinds some, do some little sectional pullouts and stuff just to kind of help enrich the curriculum. Underneath ensembles, so here we have listed in class period order, so that's first period through 7th period. These are the 7 classes we offer every day, and then the marching band's up here at the top. To talk a little bit about the marching band, it's considered a co-curricular activity by the county, so it is something that even if you don't participate in marching band, it's going to be a part of the curriculum. The students who aren't in marching band still learn the music. They have alternate assignments that correlate with the performances that the marching band has. We would strongly encourage marching band participation because a lot of the things that we believe about a band program and the opportunity that it provides us to build relationships with the kids for 4 years. It's a really unique situation. Coaches can kind of build those kinds of relationships with different sports, but band is year-round. It is curricular and outside of the school day. It just affords some opportunities that really nothing else here kind of does, especially with the magnitude, the 250 kids that we have. And marching band is sort of the place where the majority of that happens. It's where a lot of the in the trenches work happens. A lot of the fond memories happen on those bus trips and the competitions and, believe it or not, the sweaty 2.5-hour August practice days. So we're big on that because it builds the kids in a different way than a lot of the other things we do. Builds them. The majority of the kids in our top ensemble are marching band kids. I'd say all but 3 of our all-staters this year are marching band kids. And 2 of those 3 were learned from home, so yeah, marching band. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, but it's also the kind of thing that kids miss really bad when they're not in it anymore. I'm one of those kids. I try to talk to the kids about that a lot. You don't really realize how quickly time is passing until it's gone, and then you're left with the fond memories. So marching band's great. Back to the ensembles. So one thing that's going to be coming up on your radar as a current 8th grader is placement auditions. We really want every student who's in 8th grade to participate in a placement audition. We do not make them, but this is not like a auditioning to get into the band program or not. It's not mandatory, so if you don't take the placement audition, you'll be in the 4th period, the concert band class. But if you want to be considered for any of the other 3 ensembles, the Symphonic Band, Wind Symphony, and the Wind Ensemble, you have to take the placement audition. And it's really just an inventory of what your skills are on your instrument. There's some scales, there's an etude that will be sent out with that, and then there's a little bit of sight reading. So it's not something that we want to be scary or seem really daunting. When they get to the high school, they're gonna have to do it every year till their senior year when they're exempted from it. So it just becomes like a thing you do. It gets a little competitive towards the top of the group because people really want to play in our wind ensemble. So I'll transition into talking a little bit about the wind ensemble and the other concert bands. So wind ensemble's our top group. They play collegiate level repertoire. They are, if I can brag on those kids a little bit, I really think they are the best concert band of any kind in the CSRA. I feel really lucky to stand in front of that group of musicians. We had 14 All-State kids this year. Every single one of those kids is in District Honor Band every year. They've been able to do some really exciting stuff, like 2 years ago, pre-COVID, we played at this invitational festival at Georgia State University where something like 60, 70 ensembles from across the Southeast sent in blind audition tapes, and we were one of the 8 groups that were selected to play there. And we were playing amongst schools like Lakeside High School they're in like the Cobb County, the Marietta area. They're like a 2-time marching band national champion. They've played at all the big events. So that was a really exciting time for the program. The Wind Symphony is the 2nd period. That's the class right below that. They also are playing some pretty advanced literature. Some of the stuff that they play would be called collegiate level stuff. They're in sort of the grade 5 category. There's 6 grades. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They kind of follow the general progression of a kid's band career. Like grade 1 is beginner level stuff, and then grade 6 is sort of that top tier, high level performing ensemble. And then our Symphonic Band is the last of the 3 audition groups, and the concert band is it's a little more remediation focused. Now, that said, it's not like a step backwards. We still have really high standards for that group, and they're gonna play music that is a little more advanced than 8th grade band music. Maybe some familiar titles from 8th grade. I know we're playing one that a couple of kids in the group said they've at least heard like a grade above them play before in a COVID year, but they play grade 3, grade 4 programs. So those are those. Our 5th period class, the jazz class, it's a little different than the rest of what goes on in the program. It's kind of open enrollment. We have a handful of guitarists and bassists, and from time to time, drummers who are not like band kids involved in the rest of the program. We typically encourage that to be sort of a second, like an add-on class for kids in the band program, if they just want to study something a little bit different outside of the normal band curriculum. Need to say, if you want to participate in marching band, you do have to be in a concert band class due to the co-curricular nature of that activity. That's a communicated thing that doesn't always make it to incoming freshmen. Because a lot of what happens with the marching band being successful the way it is actually happens in the school day because of the way we build on fundamentals and whatnot. And then for percussion students, they're handled similarly to the 4 concert bands, but since it's a smaller number and they need a little more specific attention because the percussion world is just so completely different than brass and woodwinds. Those who audition into placement with the Symphonic Band or the concert band, they are in 6th period, which is our intermediate percussion class. And then for the percussionists that audition into the Wind Symphony or the Wind Ensemble, they're in the advanced percussion class. So we kind of have 2 groups there working on developmentally appropriate music. If you want to read a little more about what the curriculum actually entails for all those classes, that falls under here. And we also have a little thing about policies. Quick FAQs about scheduling issues. In summary, you're welcome to read this on your own, but in summary, if you are an IB student, a sports student, you plan to have one of the special pathways that our county's starting to offer now, or you're just worried about like a lot of AP classes or an advanced course load, do not worry. We put a lot of band kids in places like Georgia Tech and Brown University and University of Michigan on academic scholarships for not band stuff. In fact, most of our students actually, especially with marching band, they do better during the fall academically. It's a pretty consistent trend, not just here, it's actually something that's pretty well known in the sort of the scientific literature about band, that when that component of like, it's a structured environment, it is their social outlet, it's their emotional outlet, it's physical activity, all those things factored into having to manage their time a little bit better because of the time commitment of a marching band. Everybody does better in school during marching season. A lot of them, when they get out of marching season, they're like, oh, I have so much time on my hands. What do I do now? So if you have specific questions about anything like that, like if you're worried about the IB conflicts, you're worried about other scheduling conflicts, please let us know, because we always end up meeting kids who will like rejoin in 10th grade and they're already so far behind, but they rejoined because they were under the impression that they couldn't make this work. And then they get here and some of their friends who are doing the same things as them did make it work and it was fine. And they're like, oh man, I just really wish I hadn't dropped band, and now I want to get back in. GUARD, if that's something that's on your radar, our GUARD program is something that has started really gaining a lot of steam in the last couple of years. While you may want to march your primary instrument during marching band, we do have a handful of kids who are an instrumentalist in marching band and who also participate in Winter Guard, which is actually going on literally tonight. They have rehearsal at 7 p.m. over at the middle school, both of the groups. There's, I want to say, 4, like a French horn, a flutist, an oboe, all involved in the Winter Guard over there. So that's another cool performance outlet. The Winter Guard happens during the winter and early spring months. It's another performance outlet that is a lot of fun. It's less musical and more dance oriented, and they work with flags and sabers and rifles and whatnot. Contact and lessons. So there's me and Mr. Tall's email address. Private lessons is something we strongly encourage, just because most of our classes are 50 kids in our room. And we do our best to follow every single person's development as best we can. We have a curriculum that's structured to try and develop fundamentals daily, but you can only do so much with 50 people in the room at the same time. A lot of our kids who succeed at a higher level, who play in our top 2 ensembles, who make district honor band, all state, a lot of those kids are taking private lessons. Some aren't. But also the kids who aren't, that do those things, are really self-starter kind of kids. And I don't know about you or your kids or whatever, I was not one of those self-starters in high school. And I didn't take lessons, but my little sister did, and it made me wish I had taken private lessons. So that's just, we have a really great list of people that you can contact for every single instrument in the band, really highly qualified musicians that live in the CSRA. And there's also, if you're curious about it, there's also, as technology is advancing, there's a lot of really great digital ways to make this happen. I think Augusta University right now has like an entirely virtual private lesson program going on. So we're happy to answer questions about that. Now we are going to transition to talking a little bit about booster stuff, and I'm going to let some of our band booster officers come up and talk you through their little portion of the presentation.
So, some of you know, it takes a village to put a band on the field and to take them to concert, and that's what our job is to handle all the little nuanced things that happen to put that band on the field. So I consider our job is to support Mr. Tom, Mr. Best, and what they want to accomplish with the band, and so we do whatever we can to help them. We are always need help. We need volunteers. If that means just helping us at a game or helping us at a competition, helping us at band camp to feed the kids, we need that. But we also need people who kind of want to get a little bit more involved and help us actually make sure the uniforms fit the kids and make sure concessions has enough people to work the games, that we have enough chaperones and that sort of thing too. So all of that information will come to you in more detail as we get closer to the start of the new school year. But please know that for tonight, I know that a lot of you are here to hear about the band program. A lot of these parents have been here for 600 years and can answer your questions about what to expect of the band program. So, I mean, that's kind of what we wanted to say tonight, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
We are here to answer your questions, so if you have any, just let us know.
I do want to add a little something.
Yes.
Okay, to take off from Jennifer's volunteering, I did put together a little volunteer form if anybody was gonna be interested tonight, and then we're gonna pass this out. And hopefully we'll get a sign-up genius started, so that'll be easier for everybody else. But basically, just contact information, name and kids' names and instruments, and anything you'd be interested in. There's specific committees that we have. Like she said, uniforms, special events, concessions, chaperones, fundraising, pit crew, media, and then any general just help, you can just sign up. You can bring it back to Mr. Best, Mr. Tall, or send it in with your kids, or we'll let you know about Sign Up Genius when it comes up.
But on that same note, please sign up for the newsletter, because there is no way for us to know how to reach you unless you reach us first and let us know how to contact you. So that newsletter is gonna be our link, the director's link, to let you know what's going on. So.
And Amara's chaperones right now, Jennifer's special events, Brenda, fundraising, Lori's concessions, Nick, pit crew. So
Pit
anyone
crew's
of us.
the easiest and the most fun, so that's.
Yeah. Good, cool.
Yes. So this little slideshow has some specific information about each of the committees and some of the things that need to be on your radar. And this will go out to all of the middle school directors after tomorrow night when we redo this presentation at Stallings Island. So you'll have access to this if you have some specific questions and you're still nervous about talking to one of those weirdos over there. Charms. So I'll talk about charms in a second on the band. So we will have, if you click on the link at the top, not the drop down menu, but the link, this will always have the contact information for our committee chairs and our executive board. Here's a new page that we have added recently called the Band Parents Guide. I would strongly encourage you to read this. This is not just about booster related stuff, although you'll notice that it mentions volunteering more than once or twice. But it also has just some general things for you to help your student be successful within the band program. So I would strongly encourage you to read that. We've got grades and policies. That's not going to be there much longer because that's also here under curriculum. Spring trip. This is something that has been going on for a long time. I think most or all of the high schools around here do something like this. Anybody who's involved in any aspect of the band program, whether they're in a class, or they're in a class and marching band, or they're just a fall guard student or winter guard student or both, everybody's eligible to go on this trip. It is something that's kind of handled financially separate from the rest of the band program. Although our fundraiser, any of the fundraisers that we offer, which I'm about to talk about, can help pay for this trip. We go usually the few days right before spring break. There's always a performance component because it's a school trip and we're not just like, 100% going and partying for 3 days. But But they're a blast. We've gone to, last couple of years, we've gone to DC, we've gone to New York City, we were supposed to go to Disney last spring. That's done really bad, so we're waiting to do that one. There's a 99.9% chance that, given that you are all 8th graders and 8th grade families, you will be around for a Disney trip, and probably a Washington DC trip and a New York trip as well. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Now, the part that nobody ever likes to talk about, finances. If you want to read a little bit about everything that's gone into the process of developing our budget and what sort of analytics we did over the course of a few years, you're welcome to. I do have a separate presentation about this. So we just cleared this a couple of weeks ago with the board. We're doing a slight restructure from what we've done the last few years, very slight. Our band program is, not counting the spring trip, we operate in a 6-figure range, all the costs associated with running the program. That includes all of the instruments that you see around you, the sheet music and printed materials that we use, the staff members that we bring in to help work with the kids and give them a little more individualized attention. One of our biggest line item right now, if you can, I don't know how well you can see that from up there, is instrument repairs, sadly. That's primarily due to the fact that we're still playing on a lot of instruments that were purchased when Lakeside High School opened in '88. And it takes a lot of money to upkeep things that are 30 plus years old. So that's what you can see right here on the budget what kind of things we're spending money on. So we have this program called the Fair Share program. It's basically a per capita spending analysis of our band program budget, and what we've worked out for this coming year, for the next few years, is about $400. We'd really like to get that number down over the next few years as we start to address some more of our instrument needs. And that's instruments that students can't own. So like those percussion instruments, things like tubas, marching instruments, mellophones and baritones, like French horn players march mellophone. Concert euphonium and trombonists march a marching baritone. So there's a lot of expenditures like that we just can't have a band program without. So we're trying to address those issues. We got this year for the first time some pretty significant help from the county towards addressing a lot of those issues. And if that continues, then I think we'll be able to push that 400 number down a good bit. But we offer a ton of fundraisers, so many it makes me dizzy sometimes, especially in the fall. I'll go ahead and fast forward to that. So this was last year. It's been sort of a weird year because of COVID, but I thought it would be helpful to show you that you can look at all those other numbers, but we had 35 kids last school year who didn't pay anything out of pocket. That's not even close to what we want the number to be. We'd really love it if everybody was fundraising somewhere near that level. We offer those opportunities, but it's definitely, I basically just want to show you that it's possible. And possible enough that 35 people did it. One girl did it. She paid for all of her fair share, and I think the majority or all of her spring trip with just the bundt cake fundraiser.
It was over $1,000 she did in fundraising.
Yeah, just that one fundraiser. I think Nothing Bundt Cakes needs to hire her as like a staff member. That is one of our big fundraisers. People love the Nothing Bundt Cakes fundraisers. Anyways, so there's a breakdown of the budget. The change that we went through, so previously our fair share was $450, but we tried to, for the sake of planning for the future and also trying to just kind of make our finances a little more clear, we kind of pulled the marching band specific expenditures out of that, the ones that don't benefit non-marchers directly. So that's primarily food for things like band camp or any kind of special events, and travel to competitions. We actually don't spend money on travel to away games because the county provides that for us, which is nice, but also like it would be kind of rough if they made us travel to away games and then made us pay for it also. But that's beside the point. So for this coming year, our marching band participants are gonna have a $110, we're gonna call it the commitment fee that we'll take ahead of time. This is something that in future years you will be able, like moving forward, if you fundraise the total 400 plus 110, the $510, if you fundraise that much, you can either roll the 110 over to the next year, or we're hoping to, we talked a little bit down the road with our treasurer about offering some fundraisers in the spring to pay for that commitment payment. But we started doing the commitment payment a couple of years ago because there's a lot of expenditures we make during the summer planning for marching band, like drill, bringing in a couple of the people that we have help out teach with the marching band during the summer. So that will happen. We'll send more info home about that in the coming weeks, probably a little closer after spring break. And we'll redistribute this information as well. Now, is anybody in this room, like, I won't ask that question, that's a silly question. So, I'm gonna not ask that question. And also in this presentation, just so you'll be able to see some of the models we use, it's also not just something we kind of like thought up. Our initial fair share idea was based off of the best band program in South Carolina, it's Wando High School. As you can see, they're paying a good bit of money. They're actually paying more than this now, but this was from 2017 when we kind of overhauled our budgeting and modeled it after them. Now, they're required to do marching band if they're in you can't do band and not do marching band at their school because of the way they're allowed to require that activity. So that's why one of the reasons we kind of looked into splitting out the marching band costs for us. Another inspiration for that was Harrison High School, which is the best band program in Georgia right now. Me and Mr. Tall got to see their wind ensemble at the GMEA conference a couple of years ago. It sounded as good as any of the college wind ensembles I've heard perform. It was absolutely outstanding. And they are the most competitive marching band in the state. They compete with the best of the best at a national level every year. However, I was kind of shocked this past year to find out that their marching band fees are $2,100. And so on the right, that's also what we call our fair share, they call curriculum enrichment, and they're at $300 right now. So it was kind of encouraging that even with our equipment issues, that we're still sort of in the ballpark of what they're spending money on. As long as I'm involved with the Lakeside High School band program, I do not have any intentions of going up into a 4-figure marching band fee. But I included this just so you can see, like, it costs a lot of money to do what we do. And it sucks. It'd be really nice if the school district would foot these bills, or at least a little more than the 5 to 10% that we get each year from our principal. And not a knock on our principal, she's incredibly generous. She's done a fantastic job of supporting us, but she gets a lump sum of money, and they're like, you have to figure out how to distribute this amongst your different programs and activities and departments and upset the least amount of people. And she's, as far as I know, she's been the best with that dollar figure out of all the principals that Mr. Tall has had. And he's been here, how long?
2001.
Yeah, so she's doing great, but it's still only about 10% of our budget every year. Just so you know where we're at, we try to be transparent about that, because I know that I really wish it could be free, but in order for us to have the kind of program we have and to keep growing, we gotta make it work. And that's why we throw all the fundraisers, because in an ideal world, none of this would come out of pocket. we try to provide the opportunity so that you don't have to pay a dime out of pocket. Some people choose to, some people don't wanna participate in the fundraisers, and like day one of school, they write a $400 check. And I don't particularly like that, cause I like kinda making the kids do a little bit of fundraising. Even if you're planning to pay most or all of it, having them do that just gives them a sense of investment in the program. They kind of remember the hours that they spent, like I fundraised to pay for some of my fair share. So they understand like how much is really going into this big thing we call the Lakeside Band program. I think I'm pretty close to wrapping up. This is a pretty cool little page that we've had a lot of people work with us on to try and point.
Can I interrupt, Mr. Best?
Yes, sir.
Before we move on to the next little link, and I know that because this is something he's big about. If finances is ever an issue to you, we just need to know. We have worked with people all the time. If there's one of those things where I just don't know if I can do that, we understand that. We know that we have a lot of single parent families. We know a lot of people who are unemployed, and it becomes very difficult. We never want any kid that wants to be in band, and the only reason they're not in band is because they can't afford the fair share payment. I don't ever want that to happen. It never has under my watch. If it did, it was because the parents didn't come and talk to us. If you come and talk to us, we will do everything we can to help your child have the same experience as everybody else in the band program, and we're really serious about that. So if you communicate, like I tell the kids all the time, you just need to communicate. We need your parents as well to communicate with us, and so that we can make this a great program for everybody, regardless of the status of their parents or any of that kind of situation.
I feel really horrible for not saying that, because that is something.
Because I know you really believe that. That's why I wanted to say it,
extremely
because I know we both
passionate
believe
about
that.
issue. It's this bold paragraph at the end of our finances page. Because money should not, like I'm really adamant that money should not be an issue that keeps somebody from participating in our program. We really believe in what we're doing here on a lot of levels, and I'm not okay with money being the obstacle that's the deal breaker there. And we have everything from people who move payments forward and backwards, people who are on their own payment plans, people who will fundraise $442 out of the $450 they owe. And I'm fine putting a 5 and 2 3s in their bank account for them, like whatever. That means a lot to us. Upgrading your instrument. If you're in the market for trying to get a better instrument for your kid, if your kid owns their own instrument, or if your kid's been renting or borrowing a school-owned instrument, and like this family they had to send a kid off to be a music major, and I've been talking with him a lot about a couple of different directions he can go to also remain in the affordable ballpark. Unfortunately, he plays tuba, and top of the line tubas are like buying new cars. So that's another resource for the families. I think that's just about everything. We're still trying to fix this. It's not really an issue, but we're transitioning to having an online spirit store that's open the whole year, but that'll also be something you can access through the Booster website when that time comes around. Does anybody have any questions about any of the stuff that we have gone over? I know it's a ton of information, but we're trying to make the website a place where you can go, and 99 times out of 100 you will find the answer to the question that you want. And then our email address is always handy for the time that you don't find the answer. We're happy to help. Any questions, comments, concerns? Cool. Well, you have a question.
Yes, can I say something real quick?
Yes, this is Emily Grabowski, one of our drum majors from the last 2 years. She just found out this past weekend that she's getting an oboe scholarship to UGA. She's a really good kid, even though I never say those things about her to her face, because she's much more fun to pick on.
Okay, as we said, my name is Emily. I'm a 4-year member of the marching band, the concert band. I've kind of spanned everything that the band program has to offer. I'm currently in jazz band. My main instrument is oboe, but I marched flute, marched piccolo. I play trumpet in jazz band now. I feel really, really passionately about everything that we're doing here. And I'm gonna try really hard not to cry because I love this program. Some will call me probably over-invested, but when you find something that you really love, you give as much as you can to it. And I'm not saying that all members of the band need to, you know, go into leadership, be a drum major, play multiple instruments. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Whatever your commitment is to the band is contributing to the band. Whatever you're willing to give is what you're allowed to give. There's no requirement. You don't have to, you know, go on and do music with your life, even though I've chosen to. There is nowhere else in this school that you are going to find the amount of support, the amount of love, both from your directors and from your peers especially. You know, we're already a built-in family, and that's really overused in a lot of ways. People are like, oh, that's kind of dumb to band kids. But it's really important going into your freshman year. I moved here from Alabama. I'm a military child. Both of my parents are involved in the band boosters. They love this program just as much as I do. And when I moved here, I will never forget, we drove around the back, and it was like a week before band camp, and I enrolled in the school, and Mr. Tall was back there in his t-shirt and shorts, marching band attire, and he was like, hey! And we were like, hi! And he was like, y'all band kids? I was like, yeah, I'm a band kid! And it, like, you're not gonna find anywhere else that accepts you, that, we have like 200 and lot of people in marching band altogether, percussion, brass, winds, guard. I cannot say enough words to encourage you. If you're on the fence about whether or not you want to do even concert band in high school, just do it. Worst case scenario, you drop it after the first semester because you hate it, which we've never had, I don't think we've ever had anyone do that, where they like get into high school and they're like, wow, this kind of sucks, and then they quit. Because that's not what you experience. Your band directors invest so much in you, and if you're worried about AP classes, I'm graduating with like 9 AP credits. Scheduling has never been an issue that is too large to overcome. So yeah, I can't say enough about the directors. I was Mr. Best's first freshman class. We joke about the fact that he's gonna have to graduate with us and then like start over again. He gets to be a freshman again. So yeah, just do what you can, and you know, it feels like a big jump right now, but you are never gonna regret it. I promise you that. So thank you.
Anybody have any other questions? I just want to wrap up a few things. One of the things that I want you to really understand is how much we care about the kids that come in this band room every day. If we were to have a camera on the wall that you could kind of log into and check out every day, you would see, like, before school starts, 50 to 100 kids just in the band room. And that's pretty crazy with COVID. So we're like, put your mask on, but they're really great about that. But we're constantly, there's kids that, when Emily talks about it being a family, that's exactly what it is. And then I would tell you that with any class period, we have kids just coming in the band room to be in the band room. It's not even their class. Their teacher doesn't want them in class because they're such terrible kids. No, I'm just kidding. Just because they're not doing anything. Can I go to the band room? Sure. We'll have kids in the band room. We even have some kids that just come to the band room to sit and play with those kids in that class. So it is like a big family, and it's really important. And like I said, Mr. Best said it already. This is a lot of information. You're like, oh my goodness. That's why I wanted to meet with you all. This is the first time that I can remember doing this. We planned to do it last year, but then you remember what happened about this time last year. We were kind of all shut down, so that was out the window. So we wanted to do that and get with you guys and let you know that it is, because there's a lot of questions. So this website that Mr. Best has put together and kind of designed for you all will answer the majority of your questions. But if you're not sure about it, you've got to email Mr. Best or myself, and we'll be glad, or call us and get in touch with us. We'll be glad to help you out. I know, like I said, we said one time, we were just saying, some people are like, oh my goodness, we gotta pay money to do band. You gotta pay money to play football. You gotta pay money to do soccer. Pretty much everything in high school you gotta pay to do. I will tell you this, I'm 50 plus years old. I'm not 60 yet. All right? And I still love to play my instrument. And I play it regularly. When Augusta Concert Band was meeting, I was a member of that, and that got shut down during COVID time. So that was kind of sad, because I just love to be able, it was nice to be able to go sit in a chair and actually just play and not have to directly give instruction. I kind of really love to do that. I play at my church. Every week we play at our church, so I enjoy doing that. And from time to time I've played with Savannah River Winds, another community band, but their schedule a lot of time conflicts with our schedule, so it's not possible for me to do that. What I want, I don't know many people 59 years old still playing football, still running cross country and doing all those things, still doing cheerleading stuff. Some are, but not very many. But band is one of those things you can carry with you the rest of your life. And it's really a cool discipline. Teaching yourself, working hard and practicing is a great character builder as well. Band gives so much to your kids more than just music and band. It's really a great thing. So we really want your kids to be involved. If some of you young folks are like, I don't know if I want to do marching band. I see them out there, it looks really hot. You're right, it is hot. I see them out there sweating and it's, oh my gosh, I'd rather be playing video games. You're missing out on one of the most important things, one of the best opportunities of your life. I promise you that. If this old man can be out there every day for several hours in the heat, I get hot too, but you just have to put it out of your mind, because the reward that you're gonna get at the end of the season, it's not even about a trophy, it's about what you've accomplished. Imagine putting all those kids together, 200 plus kids together on the marching band field. Everybody's going a different direction at different times. You're doing different body moves, you're playing your instrument, flags are running in between you, rifles are tossed over your head. And it's just like a whirlwind of stuff. Drums are beating behind you. They're crisscrossing in between you and all over the place. It's a really neat experience. And when you say, I don't want to do marching band because that's just too hard, don't be lazy. Right, Reed?
Right.
Do it, because you're gonna really, I really think you'll regret it if you don't do it. All right, yeah, you'll avoid some of the heat, but it's gonna make you a stronger person, and it's gonna really help you become a better musician and a better person altogether. So if we can help you, if you have any questions, again, don't let finances be a problem. If you'll just communicate, we will work with everybody here. So please know that. Now, we know some of you, I know some of you signed up, had registered already for classes for next year. If you didn't put band down, because we were looking through kind of the roster from what we saw, what we had here, we only had about 7, how many of you, are all of you from Lakeside Middle? Is anybody from Stallings in here? Anybody from Riverside? Okay, so we do have some Riverside folks too. We know we didn't have a lot of kids from Lakeside Middle School on our roster as of today. So I don't know if that's a snafu in the computer system, but if you didn't register for band, I want you to go back and talk to your counselor, whoever you need to, and just say, hey, make sure I'm in band for next year, because we really want you to be here. And again, I want to reiterate one last thing. When Mr. Best talked about the placement audition, probably shouldn't call it a placement audition, because people hear audition, they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be scared to death. We just want to know what level you're at, so we can put you in the right level of class. If you're we do have some freshmen that make our top ensemble. Do we have a couple this year? Close?
We had, usually we have 4 or 5. We only had 1 this year because
of COVID, probably.
Yeah.
So you do have some freshmen that make it the very top ensemble, because they're that good. But if you don't do the placement audition, we won't know that. All right, and we have some kids this year that chose not to do the placement audition when they were 8th graders at Lakeside Middle or Riverside. They chose not to do the audition, so all we know to do is put them in the concert band. But once they get in the concert band, they realize, man, these kids are kind of behind me. I wish I was in another class. The audition is not for us to, we give you a score that you'll never see. We just want to place you in the proper class. Pardon me?
Unless you ask to see
Yeah,
it.
if you ask to see, we'll show you where you can work on things. And then that's how we put you in the class, in a fair class placement. So if you're a really solid player at the middle school, you need to make sure you do that placement audition, so we get you in the class that's gonna best suit your needs, all right? You got that? So I don't like the idea of, oh, you're a freshman, you're going to the lowest level band we have. If you're really good, I want you in the best band we have. So I want you to understand that. So we want to be fair across the board to everybody. Mr. Best and I are going to stick around for a little while this evening. Our band boosters are going to be over here, and that's the last thing. I said that's the last thing. I got to say something about band boosters. Mr. Best and I could never do what we do with this program without those folks and all their compadres that aren't here this evening. It takes, honestly, it takes a whole village to raise these knuckleheads. It really does. When you're going into a stadium with 200 plus kids, you got jackets, you got hats, you got plumes, you got instruments, you got all this stuff going on. We're worried about getting the kids lined up and in there, and they're taking care of all that stuff, sewing buttons on, fixing shoes, doing whatever they need to do. Fundraisers, we don't really do anything and say, hey, we're having a plant fundraiser right now. Make sure you ask everybody. You can sell plants or whatever. We kind of push that in the classroom every day. Our job is to teach music and marching and all the things that go with band. And the boosters' job is to really support us, which they do a great job of. Concession stands, can you imagine if we left the band in the bleachers and he or I were serving up hot dogs? All right, so we need you to get involved. And you want to find out what your kids are up to? Get involved in the band boosters, and you'll see who they hang out with. You'll get to see a lot about how they act and how they really are. You got it? No, cool. So thank you all for being here tonight, giving up your Monday night. I know you want to go home and take a nap, as I do, because it's Monday. But thank you for being here. Want to see your kids, 8th graders. Don't listen to everybody else. The band is stupid. Band is totally different in high school.
Who says that?
You know, you always have to say that kind of stuff. So band is really it's probably it's the largest organization at the high school. It may not be at the middle school, but it is at the high school. I would tell, I think I said this at the band concert at Lakeside Middle on Thursday night. Just give it 1 year. And then if you come to me after a year and say, this is stupid, I don't like this, I'll say, okay, no problem. All right, you got it? So I want you to give it a shot. If you don't give it a shot, you haven't been fair to yourself. Think about all the time you've invested already to get where you're at. Don't just throw it away because it's hot out there. My band is stupid. I don't want to hear any of that kind of stuff because I think you'll find out at the school that this band is an awesome thing. So cool, enough of me yakking. We're here if you have questions. I apologize. I had the doors all unlocked, and then I found out later somebody got locked out. Somebody came through and locked the doors behind me. So I apologize if you got locked out. Had a